you a woman in medicine feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from the personal fulfillment that you desire? You're in the right place. Join Doctors Joanne and Erin as they rewrite the rules for women in medicine. Let's begin.
Welcome to Create Meaning in Medicine. I'm Dr. Joanne Sotelo, and I am here with my co-host, Dr. Erin Hurley. And if you missed the last episode, I would encourage you to go back and listen to it as we were talking about how to feel better even when the circumstances of our lives don't change. And we talked about the magic of gratitude, but not just in the way that we talk about it all the time, but in how to be present in the moment, which is one of the pillars in terms of mindfulness and meditation and all these things. And Erin and I, we always meet and we talk, and we want to make sure that we're bringing the best messages for you. And we were talking about things that were going on, and she was telling me this story, and I was like, this is a great thing that we can talk about in our podcast. So I want you all to listen to Erin because this story brings this beautiful message, and we'll get back to being in the present moment. So Erin, please share with us that beautiful story you were telling me about earlier.
Would love to. And this goes to that message that I frequently share is what are you missing out on when your life is going the speed of a bullet train? Think about looking out the window. What do the flowers look like? Can you even tell that there's flowers out there? Are there animals in a pasture or is everything just a blur? And think about taking that same path and maybe you're in on a bicycle going slower and then slowing down the speed even more. And now you're walking. You have the ability to pause and inspect those flowers along the way, to interact with animals in your path, or maybe even connect with individuals who might be, going in the same direction, or pause to interact with somebody on your path. And the old me used to miss out because I was always going the bullet train speed. That was just my norm. And I like to think that I've slowed down at least a few miles per hour. And the last episode, we also talked about magic and how I think we can create a lot of our own magic in our lives. And so yesterday, this magical conversation happened between me and an air condition repair person. And we started talking about personal development. And this could have been a person I met in a breakout session at a personal development program that I pay to be into, a mastermind that I pay to be into. We talked about what's your favorite podcast to listen to? Oh my gosh, I do a podcast and I listen to that one too. Do you know about John Maxwell? Do you know about this author? And we just kept going and had so many points of common ground between me, 57-year-old physician coach, and this 20-year-old air conditioning repairman. And we talked about, our conversation started because I decided to just get curious. I was spending time in there, wanted to make sure I was available to answer his questions and making sure that, if he needs something, I'm there. And so I thought, well, we can have a little conversation. Are you married? Do you have children? Two simple questions. And he says, no, no, no. How old do you think I am? Turns out he was 20. And then he shared had been at university. He shared that he had to leave his country of Nicaragua because he did some protests as a student. He shared how there was some negative cycles in his family with the men getting married and having children and then leaving. And he said, I don't want to be in that cycle. I want to do something different. I want to learn how to be the type of man I want to be. Oh my gosh. It was just like brings me to tears thinking about how mature this 20-year-old young man in a developing country, not even a country of his own, wanted to bring intention and choice to his life and break cycles that maybe have been going on in his family for generations. And he shared how he worked so hard. It was a Saturday. There's actually some major flooding going on. It's been raining, torrential downpours where I'm at in Costa Rica right now. Lots of things going on. And his family's encouraging him, just take a break. You work so hard. And he said, I learned from another businessman, and he taught me that being a real man is about working hard and about serving and about going above and beyond, serving up to your capacity. And he didn't feel like taking a break was the right action if he wanted to be that man, and he wanted to be a role model and cause a ripple effect in his community. Just so powerful having this conversation, and I learned so much. I was frantically writing notes in my calendar, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to look up this author. Oh my gosh, I have to look at this podcast, and I was sending him some resources as well. Such a powerful conversation, and yet the context around it, we should have never had that conversation. It was a really busy day. His truck is broken. He's riding his motorcycle. He's got limited resources. He's got tons of clients. I had so many things to work on our short term rental condos. And yet the two of us together decided to pause, be present in this moment, and enjoy the company. Ask, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn from this individual at this random intersection of our lives? And it was pure magic.
I'm like so into the story. I feel like I was right there, and thank you so much. And I'll tell a funny story. So Erin and I travel a lot talking about personal development. Like we do a lot of these conferences together, and we stay together, and then we go to lunch together, and we try to gather people and make friends. And then we're walking, and then we look around. It's like, where's Erin? And she's like behind talking to someone. It's a beautiful thing that you do, Erin, of connecting and really listening. So something for all of us to learn to not just like the typical how are you and who are you and what do you do, but those more in-depth questions that then gives us this moment of magic. I think we need to incorporate that word more often in our vocabulary in general, and in our lives of you know getting more magic. So thank you. I totally envisioned this person talking with you, and the inspiration, right? And it doesn't matter how old we are. Sometimes we have that filter also of what in my older age can I learn from a 20-year-old? So much. And I'll give a little story again. I was in a conversation with a client recently. She's also a physician, and she was telling me this cute little story, and I told her I was going to share because it was so cute. It's This is a total tangent, but it kind of reminded me of how we can, when we're open, we can find lessons everywhere. And we were talking about her, her job as a doctor, and she's wants to do these other things outside of medicine and balancing everything out, and that her daughter, who's I want to say she's 5 or 6, was in like a turkey trot, like one of those little, running races. And that her mom was like, you have to go fast and you have to, like you just keep on going. And she said something like, she said, not everyone needs to win a medal. And at the end, we all get a popsicle. And she's like, I am
The
going to
5-year-old said
get,
that to her mom?
yes, isn't that amazing?
That is so
you know
good.
and it seemed like they were following her, and then she like stopped at some point and talked with some friends and then finished, and the mom asked her, and then she's like, well, my legs were hurting and so my friends were there, so I paused to talk with my friends, rested my legs, and I knew I was going to finish and I was going to get a popsicle. And what a beautiful lesson, right? So that's kind of what came to mind here, that when we're open, we can connect, and we find these beautiful lessons that we can apply to our lives, and what this young man is telling you about the importance of not just the working hard, but the going above and beyond and serving. So beautiful. Thank you.
Well, and the funny thing is, I have been present. We haven't, this is my first time working with this AC guy because we worked with another company before, but I've been present for AC work. I've been present for many handymen, and you don't always have these conversations. And so when you think about all the factors that said this conversation shouldn't have happened, and yet it did, tells me not only was I willing to be present in the moment and not delay, maybe I'm not going to see him again, but he was as well. And we decided to choose to slow down, to go the walking, the pause route instead of the bullet train route, which oftentimes in medicine we're so focused on, I just need to get this work done. I can't. And yet I would have totally missed out. I told him I want to take him out for coffee sometime. And we can create these magical moments. I met a pre-med student on the train riding back from Seattle a couple months ago, and he just happens to go to a local medical school. And we met for coffee, and I said, "We got to stay in touch. I want to hear about your journey. I would love to learn more about what you're going through medicine now." And had I never paused to create an interaction with this young gentleman who was sitting next to me on the train, that connection would have never happened. And yet I think again, we both were enriched by having those conversations. And I'm so grateful that I'm no longer in that bullet train speed 24/7.
Yes, it's so powerful. And I hope that you are listening and really paying attention to these lessons that we're sharing with you all, because we have the power to choose. And sometimes we do need to stay very focused because there's something that we absolutely need to do. And it is a good thing to just stay very focused and go, 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 go. But a lot of times that becomes our default. And like you shared, Erin, it's good. It sounds cheesy, but it's so important to really pause and smell the roses, like they say, and connect with other people and look at the beauty that's around us that we miss out. And that's premium fuel for emotional, mental, physical batteries, like I always say. And what comes to mind also, I was just recently at a restaurant, and this waiter that I know, because it's a place that I go to frequently, was telling me about his daughter's quinceañera, like the typical Hispanic celebration, big celebration when you turn 15. And he was like so proud and showing me pictures, and it was so neat. And then he stayed talking with us, and he was saying that someone asked him, how do you stay in a good mood all the time? And this is a place of work where he feels very proud. He's been there for over a decade. He's, a great role model for and very adored by the people who frequent this restaurant frequently. And he said, I don't. And I'll skip the bad words, but he says he was using it as a lesson actually for the other people who work at that restaurant, and said, when you walk in from the parking lot, there's this big tree. It's a beautiful tree. And he says, that's the BS tree. And you can fill in the blanks. And I was like, what? Like, it was so surprising to hear him say bad words. And then he's like, and I think he surprised the people who were listening to him. And he's like, yes, that's the BS tree. When you're walking towards the restaurant, you drop off all your BS. And again, not to minimize it, you just leave it there to have and set the intention when you walk through the door, because you are here to serve. And we do need to be in a good mood. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am so going to use this lesson and repeat it and put it in the podcast, because it's true. And when we, and when we're serving as physicians, we carry so much energy, and it's our responsibility to say, how can I show up as my best in this moment with my patients, with my staff, with my family? And the knowledge also that we can reset at any moment and find our symbolic BS tree where we can leave some things behind, and not to brush under the rug. You can pick them up on your way out if you need to, but it might not be there anymore, right? But maybe by the end of the day, it's not that important that someone cut you off in traffic, or that you were running a little bit late, or you read an email that you didn't like. So beautiful, these lessons that we're gathering throughout that we can share here with you.
I love that. And that the power in being open to learning from anyone and everyone, including you go to lunch and have a meal and look at what beautiful lesson you walked away with because you were open to that. And I'm assuming this server recognized that and was willing to share this story that not everyone would be willing to
Mhm.
hear. Beautiful.
So, Erin, because I know that you're so intentional about this, and I love the conversations that we have in these topics. What are some specific kind of practical tools that you can share with us to help us be more in the present moment and kind of the recharge of the releasing of the negative energy and the recharge of the positive energy?
Yeah. The most powerful tool that's worked for me is meditation. And my brain was always going a million miles an hour. And I think that's very common for women in medicine. I know for pediatricians like myself, the pace and the different things we're asked to think about encourages us to be on that constant movement and constant toggling between thoughts. And meditation was a big, big game changer for me. And it allowed me, it doesn't mean all of those random thoughts go away, but it allowed me to maybe go from 20 different conversations going on in my head and all the things I'm thinking about to maybe 3 or 5. And it allowed me to then, in the moment, get more comfortable without distractions, to get more comfortable in focusing on that one thing in front of me, that one person in front of me, that one patient in front of me, instead of being there with the patient, listening to them with half an ear, and yet my mind is on my in basket that I haven't dealt with, or those labs that are coming in from another patient. And so that's number one, is meditation, and whatever your form of that. Some of that, for people, it might be exercise. Someone's meditation might be prayer, might be quiet time, time in nature. It doesn't really matter. For me, I downloaded the Calm app and it's on my phone, ready for me to tap into at any time. So meditation. The second one, and this ties into the meditation, is, how many of us are guilty of multitasking or are proud of what we think is multitasking? And if we instead focused on single tasking, we would likely get through that task much more quickly, with higher quality, and then be able to move on to our next task and single task with that, instead of doing quick toggling between, which puts us behind. And I've talked about the power of single tasking and batching tasks in a couple of prior podcasts about getting more done with less time and energy. So we're not going to go there, but focusing on, can I do one thing now in order to be more fully present? And the final thing is setting boundaries. When you are overcommitted, it's really hard to say, how can I single task when I have 6,000 other things to accomplish? So when you learn to set boundaries, delegate, ask yourself, what do I need to do? What do I not need to do? And really whittle down your to-do list. Then that's going to allow you to give yourself more permission to be more present in the moment.
So important. And here I'm putting my psychiatry hat on for a minute. These are also very powerful tools that can help you with your mood, and it can help you with stress regulation and management of your energy, and can actually be protective of depression, anxiety, and burnout, right? Some of the other things that we talk about. Not to minimize that there's a lot more that we need in terms of treatment, but when we talk about prevention and awareness, these are key tools. And if you're thinking, who has time for meditation? I'll tell you two things. One, we can modify, because anytime that you can pause and have the intention, and even just taking really deep breaths, that's really good. You don't need to go 20 minutes under the tree to get the benefits. Or if you're thinking, oh, my brain is always so busy, you are going to benefit even if your brain is all over the place, because you're bringing yourself back to presence. And also the power of the breath. I always say, do you go to the restroom? Do you go drink some water? And during those times, that's a time when you're allowed to multitask. As you're walking towards the restroom, you can very intentionally take very deep breaths. And if you can extend your exhale, even better. And that is not, it's not meditation per se, but it's still, that's where meditation starts, in being aware of the present moment, being very grounded, and getting connected with our breath. And you can do that at any moment. You can do that in the middle of a conversation, or when you're with a patient. I know I do it all the time to kind of reset my energy and reset kind of the emotion that I want to project. So I just wanted to add that distinction because I know that that's what I hear a lot when I talk about these tools, and then there's so many benefits. It's our responsibility to tap into all the things that we can control to feel better. Thank you so much. And I love again that love these conversations when we have these moments and we cannot wait to share with you all of this day-to-day interactions that can fill up our hearts and give a lessons of the power of intention, the present, and connecting, and then also being open to those lessons that we can hear from anyone at any age, right? So it's also so important. And again, to make them very clear, the points that Erin shared in terms of, the power of meditation, and listen again, single tasking and setting boundaries. So, love being here with you, Erin. And, anything that we miss that you want to make sure that we take with us in this topic?
When we're fully present, whoever's with us is going to notice, not just you, but they are. And I specifically remember a time when I was talking with my stepfather. He didn't yet live near me. And so we would connect on the phone. And my norm was I would do some meaningless tasks like fold laundry. And as I became more aware of how important it was to be fully present, I thought, I wonder what it's like to be on the receiving end. And I stopped folding laundry and I just sat and was fully present for the conversation. And when I asked my stepdad about what was his sense on the other end, he could tell a difference. When I was multitasking, doing something even mindless on the phone rather than fully participating in our conversation, people notice. And the more fully present we can be with them, whether it's that patient who's not feeling listened to, is it because we're not fully present? Our spouse. So ask ourselves, if I'm not being fully present, what does it feel like on the receiving end? And how might I be able to change the outcome of that interaction by choosing to be fully present, single tasking, and giving that person 100% of my attention?
Wow, Erin, thank you. And if you are as inspired as I am with these conversations, please do not forget to go and give us a review. And we would love to hear it as honest as you can be. What you like to hear differently. If you have any suggestions for topics that you want to hear from us, and give us a rating. That's how we keep on moving forward. And stay tuned for our next episode.
Do you want exclusive resources and the opportunity to connect with us? Then visit createmeaninginmedicine.com now, where you'll dive deeper into how you can create meaning in medicine. And if you're serious about optimizing your results, take 2 quick steps now. Connect with us on the website and tune in to the next episode.